We saw how different people used to have their education, but today we are going to talk about cultural artifacts. So what is culture? What is culture? We start with what is culture. What is culture? Culture is a way of people's life. A way of people's life. How did people live long before, or how are people living in the community, or how are we relating to one another in terms of our communities? This is through the way of dressing. We know our culture through dressing. That is one. We also know our culture through the types of building, types of food we eat. We also, through ceremonies, in ceremonies. We also know our culture through in ceremonies. Maybe here I give example dressing. We want to identify our culture through dressing, and here I'm talking example of the Maasais. Most of you have seen the Maasais, but how do you differentiate the Maasai from other communities? We usually see the Maasai, they usually dress with their long, they usually just tie a very big, they have their own dresses which are very big. They are not as we are today, but they have their own dressing. We also have them putting on, maybe applying a red soil on their heads. They are identified with that. They also have big knives. They usually walk around with knives and to protect. As after circumcision, the Maasais are warriors. They become warriors. Each and every boy become a warrior. So that is a symbol of protection. They want to protect their communities. So here we have the Maasais. We come also to the way of dressing. We usually see the Swahili people. Swahili here. We have Swahili people. They are considered having dressing using leso or kanga. They tie their leso, more especially in the weddings. We also have types of buildings. Here we have Manyata again, the Maasai. Manyatas, about the Maasais. We have types of food here, like most of us know pilau is considered by the Swahili as their food. In other communities, like I give example of a Kalenjin community where they cannot eat or they cannot stay without using milk, which is known as mursik. Milk, which is mursik here. They must have it before they are taking their milk. So there are different types of communities also identified. I've only two example here. We have the Swahili, we have the Kalenjins here. This is Kalenjin. Most of the people identify the Luos with the fish, and also the Kikuyus are also identified with the food they take, like mukimo is also referred to with the food. So I'd like you to ask your parents what they usually take as the food in their community. Here in ceremonies, our culture is also represented in ceremonies, especially during the weddings or initiation. And initiation, I'll be talking about, I'll give you example, like a Bukusu community. We have Bukusu community. Bukusu community, during the initiation of the Bukusu community, it is in their culture to dress they usually dress, not those who are going to be initiated have to walk around along the roads without applying the whole of their body with mud. They move around. This is done especially during the August holiday. They walk around before circumcision along the road, practicing some culture and singing some song. It is in their culture. We also have the Kalenjin community, whereby during the December, the boys of the same group, age group, are taken for initiation. They stay in that place for 14 days before they come back. So this is part of culture. This is part of our culture, and it is very important for us to know our culture. So I move on to cultural. Our topic was about cultural artifacts, and what is that is what I wanted us to go through culture before we go to cultural artifacts. So what is cultural artifacts? What is cultural artifacts? Cultural artifacts are things that were used in the past. They are things that were used in the past. These are tools. They are tools that were used in the past. So we have examples of these tools. We have examples of these tools, like for hunting. They have hunting. Hunting, they had arrows. There were no guns, so they used arrows and bows. We also have like fishing. We have fishing. We have artifacts, those tools that were being used. We have for storing water, storage of water. These are different tools that were being used by a traditional community to store, maybe storing food. We have farming here. They also had tools for farming, storing water, hunting, fishing, etc. Then we are going to, where are these cultural artifacts, where are they being stored? Cultural artifacts are stored. Artifacts are stored in museums. They are stored in museums. Why are they stored in museums? They are stored in museums for future reference. They are usually stored in museums for future reference, so that even if a person who was born yesterday or tomorrow can go to these museums and learn about the culture of a certain community by seeing these items, these tools that were being used by in traditional society or forefathers. So what are the importance of cultural artifacts? What are the importance of cultural artifacts? Importance of cultural artifacts. What are importance of these cultural artifacts? So the one importance of this cultural artifact is they help people to know, they help people. What are the importance of these cultural artifacts? Why should we preserve these tools? Why should we preserve these tools? One, they help us to know our people. They help us to know our people. They help us to know our people. So this is whereby people and how they used to live and how they used to live. Nowadays there is intermarriage. Intermarriage is where a person from another community marries another person from another community. So how do we come to know our own community, how our great-grandfathers used to live if there is intermarriage? So the importance of these cultural artifacts is that they help us to know how people used to live, how our people used to live. Even if someone goes to another community or marries from another community, still there's these cultural artifacts that can be remembered. Another is we are able to identify various activities. We are able to identify various activities communities were involved in. Communities were involved in. We usually see some pastoralists, some pastoralists like the Maasais. We usually see some farmers like farmers like the Bantus who are farmers. So how do we know that the tools that were used by the Bantus to do farming is through these cultural artifacts? And I have given you examples of those tools that were being used by people to do farming. We also have to know the history of our community. Helps us to know the history of our community. And the last but not the least, they tell us more about lifestyle. They tell us about our lifestyle. They tell us about our lifestyle, how people used to live, or how they behaved, or how they used to dress, what did they used to eat. Those are things that we are talking about our lifestyle. So I have some questions. I want us to go through some questions. Iron working, this is one. Iron working and medicine in traditional African community was learned through. Number two, name methods that were used to teach in traditional African community. Three, artifacts have been collected and preserved in. Artifacts have been collected and preserved in. The last, number 4, is a table. Number 4 is a table. I want you to complete this table. example. I've said there is hunting, we use hunting tools. Hunting tools, I give you some example, arrow and bows. You add some. We have fishing. What tools were used during fishing? We have tree farming. 4, we have ornaments. Ornaments, what were the ornaments? 5, we have musical instruments. Musical instruments. And the last one is storage item. Storage item. So complete the table by filling in the artifacts that were being used. These are the tools. So give me example of those tools that were being used during fishing, farming, ornaments, musical instrument, storage, and those are our cultural artifacts. Send your homework through my